Life has a way of humbling us all. No matter how carefully we plan our path, how diligently we work toward our goals, or how positively we try to maintain our outlook, there will inevitably come moments that knock us completely off our feet. These aren't just minor setbacks or temporary inconveniences. These are the kinds of seismic life events that shake us to our core, that make us question everything we thought we knew about ourselves and our place in the world. Maybe it's the sudden loss of a job you've dedicated years to, the crumbling of a relationship you invested your whole heart in, or the devastating passing of someone you couldn't imagine life without. Perhaps it's a health diagnosis that changes everything, a financial catastrophe that wipes out your security, or simply an accumulation of smaller disappointments that eventually becomes too heavy to bear. Whatever form it takes, adversity doesn't discriminate. It comes for us all eventually. The true measure of a person isn't whether they avoid these crushing blows. That's impossible. But rather how they choose to respond when the ground has been ripped out from under them. What separates those who are broken by life's hardships from those who somehow emerge even stronger isn't luck or privilege or innate talent. It's resilience, that often overlooked but absolutely critical ability to adapt, to learn, to grow from our deepest pains. And here's the most important thing to understand. Resilience isn't some magical quality you're either born with or you're not. It's a skill, a muscle that can be developed and strengthened through practice and conscious effort. This isn't about simply returning to who you were before the storm hit. That version of you is gone, and that's okay. This is about using the very struggles that threaten to destroy you as the raw materials to build someone wiser, tougher, and more capable than you ever imagined possible. When life delivers one of these crushing blows, our first instinct is often to deny the depth of our pain. We live in a society that glorifies pushing through, that celebrates the grind mentality, where we're expected to shrug off our suffering and keep marching forward. But this approach is ultimately counterproductive. There's tremendous power in allowing yourself to truly feel what you're feeling, to sit with the grief, the anger, the fear, the disappointment, without immediately trying to fix it or push it away. Think of a professional boxer who takes a devastating punch and goes down on the canvas. The referee begins the count. If the fighter jumps up too quickly, still dazed and unsteady, they'll likely just get knocked down again even harder. But if they take those crucial seconds on the mat to breathe, to assess, to gather themselves, they can rise with much greater clarity and stability. The same principle applies to emotional and psychological knockdowns. When you're down, give yourself permission to be there, temporarily. This isn't wallowing, it's gathering strength. Ask yourself hard but important questions. What is this pain trying to teach me? Where exactly did things go wrong? And what aspects can I actually control moving forward? How can I honor this struggle rather than spending all my energy resenting it? The stories we tell ourselves in the aftermath of trauma or failure are absolutely critical in determining whether we remain stuck or begin moving forward. Our brains are meaning-making machines, constantly constructing narratives to explain our experiences. If we tell ourselves, "I'm a failure who will never recover from this," our minds will obediently look for evidence to confirm that belief, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of defeat. But if we can consciously shift to a narrative like, "This is a painful setback, but not a permanent condition," we open the door to growth and possibility. This mental reframing isn't about naive positivity or denying reality. It's about recognizing that while we can't control what happens to us, we can always control what meaning we assign to those events. Consider the profound difference between asking, "Why me?" which keeps us trapped in victimhood, versus asking, "What now?" which propels us into problem-solving mode. or replacing "I can't handle this" with "I haven't figured this out yet." The first is a dead end. The second is an invitation to grow. History's greatest innovators and achievers understood this principle intimately. Thomas Edison didn't view his thousands of unsuccessful attempts at creating the light bulb as failures. He famously called them discoveries of thousands of ways that didn't work. Every setback, properly examined, provides valuable data about what doesn't work and clues about what might. In the immediate aftermath of a major life blow, taking any action at all can feel impossible. Motivation disappears, and the temptation to just stay down can be overwhelming. This is precisely why it's so crucial to act before you feel ready. Because if you wait until you feel motivated, you might wait forever. Momentum follows action, not the other way around. The key is to start absurdly small. So small that taking the first step feels almost laughably easy. Read just 10 pages of an inspiring book. Go for a 10-minute walk around the block. Write one single paragraph in a journal. These microactions might seem insignificant in isolation, but they serve two vital purposes. They prove to yourself that you're capable of taking action even when you don't feel like it. And they begin creating tiny ripples of momentum that can gradually build into waves. When you're feeling particularly paralyzed, ask yourself, what is the absolute smallest, easiest step I could take right now? Then do that one thing. The focus should always be on what you can control. You can't change what's already happened, but you can always control your very next move. The people and environmental inputs we surround ourselves with during our recovery periods play an enormous role in how quickly and completely we bounce back. Human beings are profoundly social creatures, and we inevitably absorb the attitudes, energy levels, and outlooks of those we spend the most time with. Take an honest inventory of your inner circle. Who are the people who lift you up versus those who drain you? Who has been through similar challenges and emerged stronger on the other side? People who can serve as living proof that recovery is possible. Who believes in you even during those periods when you've stopped believing in yourself? These are the people to keep close. Equally important is limiting exposure to toxic inputs, whether that's pessimistic individuals, sensationalist news media, or the endless doom scrolling that social media often encourages. Your mind in recovery mode is like a garden. You must be diligent about what you allow to take root there. Some of history's most inspiring success stories emerged from the deepest valleys of failure and despair. Oprah Winfrey was famously fired from her first television job for being too emotionally invested in her stories, a quality that later became her greatest strength. Walt Disney was told by a newspaper editor that he lacked imagination and would never succeed. Steve Jobs was pushed out of the very company he founded, only to return years later and lead it to unprecedented heights. These stories aren't just motivational fluff. They're powerful reminders that our lowest points often contain the seeds of our greatest reinventions. When you find yourself at rock bottom, ask yourself some transformative questions. What old version of me needed to die for a better one to emerge? What hidden strengths has this struggle revealed that I didn't know I possessed? How might I eventually use this painful experience to help others going through similar challenges? Developing unshakable confidence during the recovery process isn't about never feeling fear or doubt. It's about moving forward despite those feelings. One powerful way to cultivate this mindset is by consciously remembering your past comebacks. Make a literal list of challenges you've faced and overcome in your life. You'll quickly realize you have a 100% success rate at surviving your worst days. Another potent technique is future self-visualization. Close your eyes and vividly imagine the person you're in the process of becoming. How they carry themselves, how they speak, how they handle challenges. Then start acting, even in small ways, as if you're already that person. This isn't about empty affirmations or pretending. It's about behavioral activation, where our actions gradually reshape our self-perception. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the judgment that something else is more important than fear. It's crucial to understand that healing and growth are rarely linear processes. Some days you'll feel unstoppable, like you're making tremendous progress. Other days you'll wake up, and it will feel like all the ground you've gained has disappeared overnight. This is completely normal and doesn't mean you're failing. Think of a seed planted underground. For a long time, there's no visible evidence of growth, but beneath the surface, crucial development is happening. Your journey is the same. The people who ultimately succeed aren't necessarily the most talented or fortunate. They're simply the ones who refused to stay down, who kept taking one small step after another even when progress seemed invisible. Ancient mythology gives us the powerful symbol of the phoenix, the magnificent bird that burns to ashes only to rise again, more radiant than before. This isn't just poetic imagery. It's a profound metaphor for human resilience. You possess that same phoenix-like capacity for regeneration. Life will knock you down, repeatedly sometimes, but you always get to decide whether it's the end of your story or the beginning of a remarkable new chapter. The strongest people aren't those who avoid failure. They're those who learn to use failure as fuel for transformation. So when life inevitably knocks you down again, as it will, remember this. True resilience isn't about bouncing back to where you were. It's about bouncing forward into who you're capable of becoming. Your comeback starts right now, in this moment, with one deep breath, one small action, one step forward, then another, and another. The world needs the stronger, wiser version of you that's waiting to emerge from these challenges. Keep going.